they are vulnerable because they have put this financial and economic situation mobile. They are making it happen, and it's worldwide. It's not only in America, and it's to bring the world to its knees so they can be forced to accept world government. And so they're going to continue to do what they're doing with all the spying and picking people up and the violence and the acts that they plan and execute. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. And we have to be ready for it.
Well, Bob, we know the globalists are masters at engineering crises and then using the crisis they create to get to the next stage of power. And for decades, you've written and explained how when they finally imploded things by design, they would then announce a new Bank of the World, a new global carbon tax, that this new private group would regulate and control the planet for everyone's ease and to stop the financial crises. Same thing they did in 1913 after staging crises that they later bragged about. They said, oh, we'll fix all the future crises, just give us power. Just like NAFTA and GATT, we're going to save our economy, and then it makes it worse. And they say, oh, more open borders and more false free trade is the answer, and then it makes it worse. And the answer is more. It's kind of like, if you punch somebody in the face 5 times and knock their teeth out, you say, here, this will make it better, and start punching them in the face 10 more times. Or here, let me take a, tire iron to your head. Here, that'll fix it. Oh, your head's hurting? Here, I'll kill you. That'll get rid of the pain. I mean, this is very, very serious. And then all over the nation, I've become conditioned, Bob. I've become acclimated, and I've got to consciously realize this is happening and discipline myself against it. Bob, every day, and I know every day you see these as well, every day I get emails like the one I'm about to read. This is a mainstream news story, but I was sent an email with this story. The police department put out a press release. So did the U.S. Air Force. This is from the U.S. Air Force Security Force Squadron Unit Public Affairs, Captain Tamara Fisher Carter. But every day, sometimes 3-4 times a day, Texas, Michigan, Washington State, Virginia, West Virginia, just everywhere. Same thing in Canada, same thing in England, same thing in Australia, same thing in Germany, same thing in New Zealand. It's just everywhere. It's the same thing, but I get it just in the U.S. every day. Without looking for it, without even being able to read all the email, it's, there's a local regular Army affairs is now going to have 2 officers in our small department of 15 officers. Or if it's a bigger department, there's going to be 20 guys from the Army here, some in intelligence, some in special ops. And then they admit in the articles they're going to be out watching the local citizens just to help the police. And, in San Antonio for Fiesta, this happened before 9/11. The Air Force MPs are out helping run checkpoints. And, the Marines and Army are going to help at car wrecks. You're not against helping at car wrecks, are you? And, they're going to be out at DWI checkpoints with guns, searching people. And Northcom's announced, the Army's announced, because they've got to announce their own people in the Army Times, hey, we're going to be on the streets of America. And, they're announcing we're going to have checkpoints, and we're going to have body scanners on the streets and subways and bus terminals. It's all being announced. Federal security forces lining everybody up, backed up by squads of paramilitary police. The bill's introduced to openly make law. It's already set up with FEMA camps for emergency medical centers, and people will want to go to the camps as the economy implodes, exactly as we predicted, because we've seen them do this in other countries. Now they admit it. Plus, we could reverse engineer what they were setting up before, but now it's confirmed. Here it is, local military civilian police training builds. This is the one today. Patterson Air Force Base, Colorado, security forces, airmen kicking in doors. I'm reading the article. This is from the Air Force. Security force airmen kicking in doors were only part of the action during a joint training exercise where the 21st Security Forces Squadron Airmen teamed up with members of the Colorado Springs Police Department, El Paso County Sheriff's Department, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, among other agencies. Colorado Springs, folks, that's the real government there in the mountain. The training was meant to bolster skills and tactics as well as improve interagency communication, vital at times of crisis, according to Major General Dumont. 21 SFS, individual mobilization, augmentee, both military and civilian organizations practice responding to a variety of situations where they routinely face a real-world situation. This is the first time all types of law enforcement came together for such training, said Paul McAhow, a civilian law enforcement member. It helps improve the working relationships we have and builds valuable skills for us all. The training combined classroom instruction with field training, guaranteeing they're talking about veterans and gun owners at this, exercises where agencies participated in various special weapons and tactics techniques, explosives entry techniques, and tactical movement explosives were incorporated to add the realistic nature of the scenarios. And then they always blow stuff up in the town for a day or two, say terrorists really hit, to create the psychological fear, to make the whole town a giant re-education camp. Then later they announce it's a drill. The training familiarizes us with each other's agencies, and we can offer a particular situation, said Major Dumont. Overall, the training was a major success in team building and technique. So everywhere, and I have the videos of them training to take on the local citizens and to do all of this. They planned on imploding things, Bob. But what are the cops going to do when their families are losing everything? I guess maybe serve the system even more because they're scared. I mean, is there nothing they won't do? Bob Chapman.
Well, I think, like any organization, especially in law enforcement, because of the culture, it's always been them against us. And it was always seen by them as being a special group of people who were generally disliked by the public, even though they were taking criminals off the street, so to speak. But now we have this federalization thing, and I think most of them just want to keep their jobs, and they'll do as they're told just to get the paycheck. And we have lots of people in lots of fields that do that. Doctors are up against the same thing. Attorneys are, and if they speak out in court, they're held in contempt. And so there's all these barriers that have been set up, and the next barrier among law enforcement is going to be federalization. And policing organizations are going to have to decide whether they're going to go along with the federal government and lose their lives and lose their families. And I remind them again and again and again, there's 450 million weapons in the country. There's 80 million people who have been trained to do combat. There's 40 million people who have done combat. Do they really want to tangle with them?
Well, yeah, the globalists aren't giving us a choice, and I could see the multi-level chess game here. It's like 5 or 6 chessboards stacked on top of each other, going on at one time, or a giant chessboard with 30 times the pieces. It's not two-dimensional, it's three-dimensional, but it's clear. And they've done this in other nations, and I've read a lot of white papers on it. They plan to chew up the military and the police in a war against the American people, and then bring in I-4 after, when everybody's just begging for the power to be on. And I know a lot of people can't believe this is coming and going to happen. They are intending to do this. And most of the police listening right now, you're going to be wounded or killed. And I'm sorry the globalists did this, and they're not going to let you take everybody's kids to the FEMA camps. Everybody's not going to turn their guns into you. If 1% of 150 million gun owners fight you, that's 1 million people. And but I understand you're on a power trip, and you're going to have to see before you learn. But at least halfway into this carnage, maybe then they'll start waking up, Bob.
Well, this week I had 2 stories of them shooting little tiny dogs, and I just couldn't believe it. I have them both in tomorrow's issue of the International Forecaster via link. But it just, the dogs growled at them, and so they shot them. I mean, I can understand if a dog jumps on you and starts to bite you, you have to shoot him. But these are little dogs, and I don't know what goes through their minds. Maybe they just want to try their weapons out for the day.
Well, Bob, I was about to say, we should dig out the old tapes of the shows. I don't have the personnel to even do that. They're so busy on the limited things we're doing, but hopefully with this money bomb, that'll change. I did a bunch of local access TV reports 10, 12 years ago where they would go to the house for marijuana. The cops freaked out, shot a lab that was chained up in the house in a cage because it was barking, shot a poodle, small poodle, and also shot bullets into babies' cribs, and then threw fits and beat up the family. So, and there were a bunch of cases. But no, they're taught that everything is about by the book, their God, anything that gets in their way is dead. And God forbid your dog bark, it's going to die. So there's thousands of cases, Bob, all over the country where they kill toy chihuahuas. They kill 2-pound dogs. And they open fire, and they obliterate them, and they sometimes shoot the people inside the house. And it's all part of mental illness. And I don't care what excuses the cops make for this. You didn't act like this before. We're the most incarcerated country in the world. We're a joke, and your bosses ship the stinking drugs in to begin with, you fools. Go ahead, Bob.
Well, that's all true. And it just happened to hit me that these two incidents happened while we are looking at all these other things going on, the federalization of police and the escalation of stupid acts, the escalation of the buttoning down of the American people. The next thing that they're going to do, I believe, is try to seal the borders. Now, that's really unusual because they've had them virtually wide open for so long. And the reason they're going to do that is I think they're going to, down the line here, when things get real nasty, I think they're going to put on currency controls.